Hello everybody, we are back here on Call of the Wild the Angler, and I was going to make a video on this game tomorrow, but since they pushed out this update, I decided that today was probably a better day to do it. So basically, they put out update number 2, and a lot of it was focused on the water. And I gotta say, it did make some improvements when it comes to the, I guess, visual fidelity of the water and also the clarity. It's not quite as blurry at a distance as it used to be, and it's also got a little bit more smooth transitions in between, like waterfalls and stuff like that, which is nice. Obviously, it's not perfect. There's still a lot of room for improvements, but they are definitely moving in the right direction. Now, before we actually do get into the patch notes, I did real quickly want to address a couple questions that I saw very frequently in my first look at this game, because there was definitely a few people that thought that I was faking my reaction of being excited about this game and thought that there was no way that I could possibly like it. And obviously, with that being a very first look at the game, a lot of things that I dislike about it were not apparent at the time that have become apparent since then. But I do still stand by enjoying this game, and I do have a lot of fun with it. I think it is one of those games that's definitely not perfect, but has a lot of potential for the future, and that's one of the big things that I look at in games. It's not just about what it's got at launch, but also the potential that it's got behind it. And after talking to the development team and talking to many other development teams throughout the hunting and fishing game genre, the Angler's developers have been by far the most dedicated to making the game what people want it that I've ever seen with any team. Their willingness to adjust things in the game and change them based on feedback is one of my big reasons for being so excited about this title. It's got a lot of issues on launch, and there's a lot of things that need improved, and I mean, with these last 2 updates, they've already improved a decent amount of the things that I had complaints about, so they're definitely moving in the right direction. But yes, it is 100% genuine that I do enjoy this game, and I was very excited for it when I first got to play it, and I feel like it's obviously just natural if there's going to be some people that seem to think that you're faking a reaction to get something like early access or anything like that, but in reality, I could talk as negatively about any aspect of the game as I want to, and that wouldn't really affect anything. It's not like the developers are going to be like, oh, he talked negatively, guess we can't have him anymore. That's really not the way it is, especially with Expansive Worlds, and I'm very thankful for that. I'm very thankful that I can talk openly about how I feel about the game and give the feedback that I want to without it having any effect on the possibilities of future early accesses or anything like that. So just wanted to clear up that real quickly because I saw a few comments about it saying that I obviously was just faking enjoying the game for the possibility of future early accesses, but that's really not the case. And I do openly talk negatively about different aspects that I dislike about the game quite often on the live streams. I don't do it as much in the videos because that's really not the focus of my style of content. Most of the time when I do videos, I'm just playing the game and showing off the parts of it that I enjoy. Most of the time, the negatives get highlighted more in live streams, where I'm kind of just having one-on-one chats with a lot of the people in the chat. And the other thing that I briefly wanted to talk about before we get into the patch notes is the fact that there seems to be the thought throughout a decent amount of people that dislike the game that, oh, if I dislike it, you couldn't possibly like it, and if you do, you're lying to yourself. And it made me think, what is so bad about enjoying a game that a lot of people think is bad? I've never understood the mindset of, oh, this game looks terrible to me, so it must be terrible to everybody else, and if they say it's not, then they're obviously lying to themselves. I've never quite understood that type of mindset, and I'm curious why there's some people that do think like that, because a lot of people enjoy a lot of games that I think are bad, but I don't immediately assume that it's just because they're faking it. A lot of times there's just different preferences and different things that people look for in games. And I do think a big part of that is also the marketing of these games when they get released. I see a decent amount of people that were looking for a super realistic fishing game when the Angler came out, and I mean, from the beginning, I kind of expected it not to be super realistic because of the fact that it is a part of the Call of the Wild franchise, and we know how the Hunter Call of the Wild is. That game is nowhere near realistic. It's got a lot of arcadey elements. It's got a lot of things that were very big issues when the game first came out, and then they kind of ironed them out over time, so I kind of expected this game to be similar. And well, that is pretty much what it ended up being. It is a bit more fast-paced arcadey experience, and definitely is not a realistic fishing experience. And I had a few people talk to me about what they might have meant by realistic when they were marketing this game, and it seems like when they were talking about realistic, they were talking more about the ability to go anywhere on the map, fish any place that you like, and having a complete open world. And honestly, I feel like that was one of the major problems with the way the game was kind of marketed before release, and I feel like that did account for a lot of disappointed people because they expected the game to be a realistic fishing simulation, and in reality it's more of an arcadey fishing game with some realistic elements and a very massive open world. And that also brings me to the other point that I wanted to talk about, and that's the fact that I feel like a lot of this could have been avoided if they had not only put the game into early access instead of just making it a full release. I really do feel like Steam Early Access would have been the best route to go, especially since it's not even out on console yet. Put it out into Steam Early Access, work out a lot of the issues, and then do the full release when the game is at a state where a lot of the community likes it. And the other thing that I really think could have helped the game when they were marketing it before release would have been to kind of put a little more emphasis on the fact that it is not going to be a super realistic simulation, and instead of selling it as a realistic simulation like they kind of did up to release, just say that it was a little bit more of an arcadey experience, because that really is what the game is. And that's actually a decent fish right there. Let's see if we can reel this guy in. But as I was saying, I do think that that would have really helped them out when it comes to the amount of disappointed people, because less of those people would have been interested in the game, and therefore there would have been less negativity coming in from the people that expected the game to be realistic, and then it ended up not being realistic. If they would have just not marketed it as a super realistic fishing experience, then I think that would have avoided a lot of the issues. But let me know what you guys think about that in the comments, as I am very curious what your opinion on it is. I just wanted to clear up a couple things and also just give my opinion on why this game ended up getting such negative reception. So hopefully you guys at least agree with some of it. If not, you know, it is what it is, but I do feel like they definitely could have done some things differently and explained things a little bit better. But I am seeing a lot of improvements in the game already, and it's nice that they are actually making an effort, and that was one of the big reasons for my excitement with this game, was just talking with the development team and seeing how dedicated they were to changing the game based on player feedback, and we're already seeing it with these last two updates. Last update, they decreased the amount of diamonds and golds that you are catching, and they also made the fish a little bit more picky with what lures they bite on. And this update, they've improved the water, as well as also doing quite a few other things that we're going to go ahead and start talking about while we're fighting this fish. So they did increase the reflection fidelity on the water surface, which we are seeing right now. They improved the water's reaction to wind, which I haven't really noticed that too much, but I haven't been playing a lot either, so that is most likely why we've just barely jumped on this update. They improved the water's animations to appear more coherent, which is good. They improved the water transition between rivers and lakes to appear more natural, which is also really nice, because that was a major problem that I noticed, is whenever you would go from running water to still water, there was definitely some issues with it not blending properly, so it seems like they did fix that. Man, this fish is putting up quite the fight. I'm honestly curious what this is. It's probably just an average size pike, but maybe if we're lucky, it'll be something a little bit bigger. I am using a little bit lighter tackle. This is an ultralight fishing rod, so if it is an average size pike, there's a good chance that it could be fighting this hard. We'll see, though. Definitely also could be a big bass, but there's no way to know until we get it in. Yeah, I can't really tell what it is. It looks like a pike, though. Yeah, it is just an average size silver pike, just about 8 pounds. So the developers did leave a note below the changes with the water. It says, player feedback since launch has been clear in regards to the water's appearance in the angler. While not everybody in the community agreed on the details, most felt like the water's visuals could use some improvements. The changes listed above are a start, and planning to keep Oh, and we're planning to keep on improving the way the water looks in future updates. So they are going to continue expanding on the improvements to the water, which is amazing. Now let's get to the rest of the patch notes since this video is getting a little bit longer than I initially thought it would be. It says fixed an issue that would cause the water to not properly blend with the shore, which is great fix. Fix specific fish animations so they play back as intended. That's also a really good change. I did notice there was some glitchiness with some of the fish animations. It does seem like that was a bug. The float's movement now react more accurately to the water movements. Remove the camera sway accidentally introduced in the hotfix. Resolve the water's visual corruption found on several AMD graphics cards. Resolved an issue that would let players sell the clothes they are currently wearing. Change the default resolution scaling from 80% to 100%. Night's duration has been reduced by half, reducing the time spent in darker conditions, which is really good. One of my biggest complaints has been the day and night cycle, and also just the lack of an ability to change time, so it's good to see that they did do that. That's something I was really hoping for. And the notes that they left under it say, we've heard a lot of feedback on the night duration. We wanted to make sure we quickly tackled how long night felt to most, while we continue to work on providing players with more options to fish under the moonlight. Some extra info about the day and night cycle in the Angler, since so many players have asked us. There is 24 hours. 24 hours in-game is equivalent to 4 hours IRL. Night used to be 1 hour IRL, but has been reduced to 30 minutes with this update. Amazing change, glad to see it. So it is a total of 4 hours for a 24-hour cycle, and it looks like now it is only going to be 30 minutes of it as nighttime, which is great. Amazing change. Fixed several issues hindering players' experience in Golden Ridge Reserves. With Hotfix 102, we've tackled several crashes and launch issues players have reported to us. We'll continue to closely monitor stability issues. They also changed some stuff with the UI. It says fixed an issue that would cause dialogue pop-ups to remain stuck on the screen. Adjusted metric and imperial measurements to a single decimal place. That's good. Resolved an issue where players would find themselves unable to select a rod from the quick menu if the first and second slots in rod assembly were unused. We move on to the gameplay changes, which it says level-based achievements now unlock when players reach the correct level. Reeling speed animations while baiting is now adjusted accordingly to the player's speed selection, which you guys did just see. My character was reeling in much slower when I was on a 1 speed, and I'm really happy they changed that because it was really throwing me off for a long time. My character would always be reeling as fast as possible even though I was on speed 1, and the animation just looked so off. So it's nice to see that they really are fixing a lot of these issues that people have brought up, including a lot of the issues that I had with the game. Obviously, it's nowhere near perfect yet, but I don't really expect it to be quite yet. I mean, it's just a couple weeks after launch. Hopefully, they will improve even more in the future, but this is looking really good so far. As we continue on, it says fixed an issue that would have caused the strike input to occasionally be unresponsive, which I have seen that a couple times. Now into the audio improvements, they improve the sound balance in multiplayer for other players relative to their proximity. Now they move on to the multiplayer part. It says change the default number of players populating servers from 12 to 10. We've heard players' feedback about their difficulties playing with friends loud and clear. While we work on a long-term solution to this issue, we've implemented a simple change to how servers are populated that will allow angling duos to more easily and quickly play together. Parties of 3 or more might still encounter issues joining the same server for now, but we're aiming to bring them a solution swiftly. And then they close out the patch notes by saying our work continues, we're already hard at work on bringing further improvements to the game and fixing the remaining issues currently listed in our known issues list. In the meantime, if you encounter a bug or would like to share feedback with us, make sure to head to our Discord server, where we have dedicated channels for both. Happy fishing, anglers. So honestly, this is a really good second update for the game. It fixed a lot of the visual bugs that myself and a lot of others had been complaining about, so it's good to see that they are making these changes relatively swiftly. And this is something we're really not used to with the Hunter Call of the Wild, as sometimes we'll go 2 months without a single update, and they pretty much never release hotfixes. But with the Angler, we've already had 2 hotfixes, which is amazing. I'm so happy to see that they are so on top of getting these things fixed and are releasing regular hotfixes and updates to address a lot of the issues. And oh my gosh, that was a huge pike. Hold that thought. That's a big pike. But yeah, I'm super happy to see that they are making a lot of those changes. There's also a big rainbow there. Yeah, I guess we're gonna have to try and get this dude. Oh my gosh, that is a massive bass. We are just seeing everything that is giant today. So I guess with all these giants showing up, now would probably be the best time to go over some of the diamonds that we ended up getting over the last week. We actually did manage to get a couple of them. They will be playing in the background right now as we wait for this largemouth to bite. They did decrease the amount of diamonds and golds in the last hotfix that they pushed out, but we still did manage to get a couple of them, which is awesome. And a couple that were pretty good diamonds. Now, we definitely have not been able to get as many as in early access, which I think is really good. It's a positive change in my opinion, and I'm happy to see that they actually are difficult. And there we go. We officially have this big bass on. This is pretty heavy gear, so it's going to come in relatively easily. But let's see how big this guy is. Oh yeah, I'm already noticing the massive improvements to the fish animations. That's a big bass to a 7.73 pound gold, but I think that was probably the best example of it that we've seen so far. The fish animations definitely do look less glitchy than they did previously. We still have to fish a little bit more to fully get an idea of how extensive that fix was, but it definitely seems like there already is some visible changes with the way the fish move, which is really good because that was a major issue. The fish would move very robotically at times, and definitely seems like they are moving in the right direction in fixing those issues. But anyway, guys, we're going to go ahead and end the video there. I hope you all enjoyed this one, and I hope this was a little bit of a more insightful video onto not only the patch notes, but also some of the thoughts that I've had about the game and just some of the response that the community has had to it. But we'll probably go more in-depth in a different video at some point, but I appreciate all of you watching. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, click that like button, and ring that notification bell so that you guys will never miss any of the future uploads. Also, be sure to leave a comment down below with your thoughts on this update, and also your thoughts on some of the stuff that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. With that being said, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace!